So they're at Ford's Theater, and outside Ford's Theater, there's a marquee showing upcoming showings, including Pilgrim 2, Buckle My Shoe.
Hello, welcome to Guides to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are going to revisit subjects of episodes past where we didn't have time to cover every little thing that we wanted to cover. And so we held back.
Yes.
Because we try to keep shows at about an hour long, both for ourselves and also because we have found that that seems to be what people like.
That seems to be like the sweet spot that people enjoy. I know that for me, in a podcast, I like to listen to something that's like nice, an hour-long thing. Anything shorter sometimes does feel short to me. Unless there's like a specific thing.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so anyway, periodically we've had to sort of like cut things for time. But that never meant
Not
that
literally. It's just like we look at our notes and we're like, oh, not going to cover that.
Yeah, I have a tendency to go a little gonzo in my notes for sure. And sometimes I'll just try to like smash them into the episode anyway. But that doesn't mean that anything that didn't make the cut isn't worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so interestingly, we're going to be presenting to you all out there in Radio Land like a smorgasbord of different kinds of topics throughout months of Guide to the Unknown. So it's even sort of a way to like look back at things, topics gone by.
Yeah, a retrospective.
Yeah.
But before we even do that, I have a little bit of current news.
Oh.
So it's a little bit of old and new.
Well, holy shit, I was only prepared for old.
I know.
New. This is
Recalibrate.
good. Okay, recalibrate. All right, I'm ready.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm going to be telling you about some stuff that's been going on with the Conjuring house in real life.
Right.
That is quite wild.
Really?
Yeah. One of our listeners, Jesse, brought this to our attention by sending us a message. Jesse's a member of our Patreon. They messaged us through Patreon. Thank you, Jesse, because
Really? Is it that juicy? And
I find it pretty juicy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to go into more detail, but the owner of the Conjuring house fired somebody because a ghost told them that they were stealing.
Okay, were they?
I don't know. Number one. And then number two, there are these paranormal investigators who were working with the owner of the Conjuring house to build a museum offshoot of it. And then what they were building burned down. And they are insisting that they are owed money. The owner is saying that they are not owed money.
Yeah.
And plus, these investigators I know to be quite unscrupulous.
You know?
Well, I mean, a bunch of people know, but I know of this.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear about this. Listen, I love some dirt.
Yeah.
I'm not above getting down in the dirt
Oh,
and hearing all the hottest gossip of the day.
Uh-huh.
Well, why don't we do this? I want to hear that first, without a doubt, because that sounds like some juice that's worth the squeeze.
It is. It is.
But before we do all that, let's all enjoy a beautiful, delicious, sumptuous commercial break.
Okay. You're like,
Why'd you go before the commercials?
sumptuous and delicious.
Yum,
Yum,
Oh,
yum.
weren't those so yummy? So yummy.
Me love it commercial. Okay. So here's what's what with the Conjuring house.
Yes.
This is some stuff. So the real life Conjuring house is in Rhode Island. I think most people know the Conjuring house is from the
Conjuring.
The
The
Conjuring,
very famous, very famous James Wan movie. Bathsheba was the ghost, but this was the
but
first
like not
movie.
really. We talked about the real story behind the Conjuring in a past episode.
Yeah,
if
you
you
can
scroll through the feed,
I'm sure it's pretty easy to find us talking about the Conjuring, but this is
Bathsheba was done dirty.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, one of the most famous cases of theirs, primarily because of the movie The Conjuring. We viewed it as one of their most famous cases. But so yeah, it was a real house in real life. And obviously, there are people who own that house who would be thrilled for you to come visit that house and pay for a tour or what have you. So there's business wrapped up in owning a paranormal location, which is sort of one of these little topics that you and I like to sort of like peek at from afar periodically. Like, what are the economics of this? Who are the people who are owning this? What's the deal?
Totally. And we actually peeped at it from not so far one time because remember, we went to the Warrens Paracon in Connecticut a few years ago.
Yeah.
Let's maybe 2021 or something. I'm not really sure. We covered it on our Patreon only because we disdained it.
It was originally planned to be a main episode, like a main Guide to the Unknown episode. But I think there were a few things that we were like, you know what? We're going to be saying maybe a few more controversial opinions than people might expect.
Yeah.
So we tanked it. We didn't publish it. And then we were like, you know what? This is the kind of dirt that might actually be kind of fun just to share with our Patreon folks.
Right.
But I can now say to everybody listening, I don't remember what we called it, but it was basically like the Warrens Paracon sucks. It was like something. The Paracon was garbage.
Yeah, totally. And the owners were there. We watched them do like a little Q&A session.
It was from a tech perspective a nightmare. Yes. They were sitting on thrones on a stage
of skulls and knives.
Yeah, it was like the Game of Thrones for whatever reason. But I feel like, and if memory serves right, which it may not, I feel like they were sharing a microphone despite being 6 feet apart.
Yes.
So it's like they had to awkwardly walk over to each other and share. It was like, hey, I just wanted to stand up and scream, like, move the chairs closer together.
Totally.
There's no reason for everyone to be spread out when you're sharing one mic. From just an AV perspective, which to me is like,
it's paramount when you're doing something like this.
Yes, and it's so paramount and so obvious that it makes me think like, how could, if you can't solve this problem, what other sorts of like thought processes are going into the other parts of your operation?
Well,
you can't figure out how to use a mic.
William, if you remember correctly, you're absolutely, what kinds of thought processes? The thing was a mess.
It was a mess. It was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
The Warrens, for the record, suck ass and always have. Mm-hmm. And this convention.
It was a logistical nightmare. We were online with people. Everybody was complaining about what a mess it was.
Oh, it was horrible. Some man appeared and tried to give out tacos to make people happy or something. Remember that? I remember. What was the deal? Well, whatever.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but you okay, what it was is that it was a mess. Everybody's waiting outside in the rain.
It was horrible.
Miserable.
Kristen decided to text Liz Sauer of Ghosts in the Burbs to say, like, you should just stay away. We were excited to meet her for the first time in real life.
Yeah.
But Kristen started to text, like, you should not come to this place.
This is a total mess. You're not gonna enjoy this or whatever. And she didn't. So anyway, I could see the guy who was organizing it, Tony Spera, who was the
son-in-law,
the Warren's son-in-law, eating tacos inside.
Oh, okay.
While we were all in the rain. He did not come out to offer us tacos.
Oh, okay.
And I said to you, look at this guy inside eating tacos.
Just watching us.
While we're all just like, can we get inside?
Yeah, watching the peons try to storm into his convention standing in the rain. Poorly organized, ill-timed.
Oh my God, so funny. But anyway, so we saw the owners of the Conjuring house there.
Yeah.
I haven't thought a ton about them since. But they're specifically just it was a couple that we saw there.
Yeah.
The articles are just talking about Jacqueline Nunez as the owner. So I don't know exactly what the deal is there, but they were specifically talking about Nunez. And so the first part of the story, as I mentioned, is that she fired somebody because a ghost told her to. This person's name is Brian Danzero, and he was working on the house because they've been doing renovations, like I mentioned, just kind of like getting it up to speed for all kinds of events and stuff, which they have been holding for a while, but I guess just doing some more. And she said that the ghost of John Arnold told her that Danzero stole about $3,000, and Danzero denies the theft. Now, this is a quote from him. This is from WPRI.com. This is a local Rhode Island news website. She said, John Arnold told me you've been stealing money out of the cash box for the past 2 months. I literally stopped and I had to correct her, like, John Arnold, one of the original owners? Nunez, a self-described medium and channel, confirmed she filed Danzero and that the spirits of, quote, the most famous haunted and active locations in the world, I guess it should be one of, told her he'd been stealing. Nunez also said she'd been informed of, quote, other matters that are untoward from previous staff and even mischievous guests. It does not matter what you believe, whether you believe in the paranormal or not, Nunez said in a statement. I and every person is entitled to experiences that bring understanding and meaning to our lives, including being informed or warned about wicked actors and actions. As far as Brian goes, my experience with him devolved quickly, culminating in his at-will employment termination.
So wait, he was behaving wickedly?
Well, I think she's saying
talented?
the wickedly talented Brian Ensro. I think she's saying that perhaps other people were, well, maybe he is as well, but she said that she was not only told about him, but
other wicked guests,
yeah, what'd
or whatever.
She say?
Wicked tour
Wasn't there
guests.
something where it said?
Yeah, it was
other people.
It was a run-on sentence of nonsense, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I guess the plural made me think there were other people. I guess she said, including being informed or warned about wicked actors and actions. I guess that made me think that she was told about other people, but I guess it's just singular.
Talking about wicked actors like like Matt Damon. both picked
Boston.
Matt Damon. I know.
It's a Boston acting.
So, okay. I need to say the following, because I sense myself coming on hot and strong about the Warrens, and it's trickling down to the owners of the Conjuring house. My opinion of the Warrens is that they were bad people. All right. Maybe someday we'll get into it. There's enough sources. Go look around. We've talked about it here and there. But the people who just own the Warrens house, all right, whatever, or the Conjuring house, like, okay, you own it. It's your right to exploit that property how you see fit. Right. So that's arguably completely fine. That's just sort of commerce and capitalism and blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
But one, I think that it's always a little iffy to be like saying like, hey, I'll charge you to come to this location. Yeah. You know, off of the promise of, you know, do you believe in ghosts or not? We go back, and I personally go back and forth a lot. Yeah. But that's all one thing. Now I would have been like, okay, whatever. It's what you believe. It's hard to demonize a belief. Sure. But when it comes to a ghost told me that you've been stealing money, so I'm terminating your employment. I'm going to cut off part of your livelihood. We don't get along. That's fine. It's okay not to get along with your employee, and especially for an at-will arrangement, you can be fired or walk away at any time with no notice given. That's a thing that people sign in contracts. Right. You can argue the ethics of it, but it is a thing. A common thing. But rather than take your own responsibility to say, I'm terminating you because this arrangement is not going well, and I have a personal problem with you, rather than doing that, but say, a ghost whispered to me that you stole $3,000. Right. I'm sorry. I don't think that's admissible. First of all, in like a legal sense, and and that's obvious, but I would also say that a ghost whispered I stole money from you is not admissible in an interpersonal sense. I don't think so. I refuse to accept it. I would think not. Dan Zero has filed a complaint seeking unpaid wages with the Department of Labor, unsurprisingly. Okay, there we go. Yeah. He estimates that Nunez owes him $9,000 for uncompensated work. Oh. Yeah. And she says that he stole $3,000. So there's a discrepancy there. But she says that her books back up the allegations of theft from the ghost, and that there is a discrepancy between merchandise orders and cash sales that tell her that he did indeed steal. So he's been pocketing money off of like selling merch at the Conjuring house. I guess so. That's what she says. In the amount of $3,000. How much are they selling this merch for? Hats and shirts and shit like that? Beer steins. Who the hell knows? Right? She says that she doesn't owe him anything because he's been made whole when, quote, counting the stolen money as part of his compensation. Okay. Look, messy. Very, very messy. Now, I just for a little color, and because we like spooky stuff here, I wanted to mention that Dan Zero does say that he has experienced ghostly activity in the house, but he says that he thinks it's unheard of for John Arnold to be telling her that he's a thief. There's no precedent set for that some sort of thing. He says, for a spirit to go after a staff member in that manner, I've never heard of such a thing at any haunted venue, let alone the Conjuring house. Yes, I also agree with that. So I have been coming from the standpoint of, I don't believe in any of this, but I like it.
Right.
Now let's come from the standpoint of it's all definitely real.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you heard about a ghost getting involved in the interpersonal conflicts between an employer and an employee?
Not often.
What sort of like investment or interest would a ghost have in people who are still alive?
I mean,
trying to sell t-shirts out of your house.
Here's what I would guess.
Your employee's been stealing from you.
That perhaps Nunez would say. She didn't say this necessarily. This is what I would assume.
Sure,
maybe.
fair enough. We're just having a hypothetical conversation.
Totally. That from living in the house, perhaps she has some sort of kinship with John Arnold and that he wanted to give her a heads up.
Okay, what else can he tell you? Are there any other things that like...
Maybe he has.
Because so far we have zero quantifiably proven evidence of the paranormal.
Right.
But she certainly is having conversations enough that they've gotten beyond what is the nature of life and death and the veil between the living. How are you able to come back, John Arnold? How are you speaking to me now? What's it like to be dead? None of the... Forget those questions. Your employee is stealing from you.
Right.
This is... horseshit.
It's absolute horseshit.
Of the highest, most embarrassing order.
It's nuts. So I will end, Brian Desrow's story
Delightful.
will go on. We'll see what happens. I hope we'll see how it shakes out.
I hope to be following this story as it develops.
Yes, I'll keep
wonderful.
I'll keep you posted.
Please.
I'll just tell you what he experienced in the house in happier days.
Okay.
One of the weirdest things that he experienced was, quote, being in the basement by myself in the storeroom and literally hearing me call me from the other side of the basement.
Okay.
I don't know.
I understand what he means.
Yeah.
I heard my own voice calling out to me.
Yes.
I heard me call me.
Is
maybe the worst way to say it.
Perhaps. In another experience, Danzero said a closed door opened for him as he walked toward it with an armful of boxes. Danzero said the experience still makes him smile and that he was sure to say thank you. That's nice.
That is nice.
That's very nice. And what a bummer to have to leave that kind of workplace. It sucks that the boss, Nunez, wasn't so hot to him, but sounds like the ghosts were kind of friendly.
Maybe he was stealing the money.
Maybe he was. I don't know.
Maybe he was taking advantage of the ghost's good nature, thinking
maybe
if you're going to steal while working at a haunted place, that's so funny. Like, it's funny to think of an employee at any location, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say that you're trying to pocket some money off the side. You're looking around to see if your boss is nearby. You're checking to see if there's a camera watching you.
Yeah.
If you're doing this in a haunted house, you got to assume there are literally eyes everywhere.
Yes.
There could be a ghost sitting inside the cash box.
Freak yourself out and being like, oh, ghosts can do they know what I'm thinking?
Right.
Can they see what I'm doing at all times? Like, I freak myself out thinking that sometimes. You must think that if you're working in a haunted
location. If you believe in this stuff, how can
Yeah.
you ever forget that there might be a ghost seeing the unscrupulous thing that you're doing?
In the Conjuring house, they would be about.
You know what I used to imagine? Remember, I have this like theory that can never be proven or disproven. It's just a thought, really, that like every square inch of ground, someone has died there.
Yeah.
That like right beneath our feet, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find a body of some sort, right? Just time has gone on for millions of years.
Yeah.
Someone's died everywhere. When I was a kid, I used to imagine that as coupling the idea of people having died everywhere with ghosts being everywhere, and that like if you could magically tune into the spectrum of spirits, every room is shoulder to shoulder packed.
Yeah.
Like you've got, floor tickets at a Taylor Swift concert. There's a ghost
crapping.
There's a ghost over there crapping in the corner. There's all kinds of creepy crap over there.
No, we've talked about this before. Yeah, we've both talked, because of course, if it's everybody who has ever lived and died, they'd be taking up all of the real estate.
Space. There's like someone standing here, someone standing there, someone standing like in the desk. You know, like they're everywhere.
Yes.
So if you firmly believe in the paranormal, and you're working at the Conjuring house, what a high risk to be pocketing that money.
Very high risk. Although they could be blooping between dimensions. Who knows? Maybe it's not that they all have to be here at the moment.
That's a great point. Great point.
Who knows? But no, I think that's a great theory. And just like, seriously,
Don't steal in front of a ghost.
If you are in on the fact that there are ghosts here and that they can communicate and they can do whatever, Gotta be careful.
You got to be real careful.
No.
They're whispering to the boss about you.
Yeah, right.
How much does that suck,
Bunch of
too?
narcs.
Like, your employee stole the Post-it notes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, narc. Yeah, some narc-ass ghost with nothing better to do. You can fly.
I know. Maybe they
Go
just, like,
do
really love
something.
Nunez. On the flip side, if I were running a business and I had a ghost and the ghost and I were cool, I would hope that they would tell me if something was going on.
Why would you love the person who is making money off your house?
I don't know. Maybe they're really nice.
It's weird. It's just weird to me.
No, it is weird. I don't know. Okay, so part 2 of the drama going on at the Conjuring house with this gal.
yeah.
She's got a lot on her plate. I mean, this all happened in the last month. This news article that I'm about to tell you came out 4 days ago.
Wow.
So this woman is reeling. I
Yeah.
hope that John Arnold is a good shoulder to cry on, because this is a lot to take on. All right, so okay, let me first set the stage a little bit and tell you why I said these people are unscrupulous.
Yeah.
There is this couple that is a paranormal investigation team. Their names are Satori Hawes and Cody Desbeans. It's a French name. I tried to look up the pronunciation.
Cody of the Beans.
Cody of Beans. Yes.
Yeah.
Cody
Desbeans.
Desbeans. So I knew of them a little bit already because about 3 years ago now, they made a Patreon that absolutely, completely ripped off the Newkirk's Patreon.
Oh, really?
With no question. I mean, egregiously branding the structure of their Patreon, the tiers, like absolutely insanely.
They saw something that was working and sort
Yes.
of took it for themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
So they go by the Paranormal Couple, and their Patreon is the Paranormal Couple's Haunted Museum. And seriously, even now,
the Haunted Museum.
yeah.
Okay.
Even today, if you go and look at their Patreon and compare it to the Newkirk's Patreon, even today, the tiers are set up very similarly, but the branding used to be a complete ripoff of the Newkirk's until the Newkirk's changed their branding. And the Newkirk's at the time, so I was a member of the Newkirk's Patreon until I lost my job and had to quit all my Patreons. But I was a member of it for years. So I was a member of it when all of this happened, and they talked about it publicly because they were trying to get them to change this because it was shitty and a ripoff.
Yeah.
And they reached out to them. They insisted that they didn't rip it off, but it was unbelievably clear. Like, no question.
Crystal clear, yeah.
Not an accident, whatever. And they just refused. They said it was I don't even remember. It said it was a coincidence. They refused. They never changed it. It's still as it is. Now, Satori Hawes' father is Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters. He's the bald guy in Ghost Hunters.
Now, they were the plumbers by day?
Yes.
Like the roto-rooters by day or whatever? Okay.
So like he was aware of it and said some stuff about the Newkirks and how they were wrong. It was unfair, and it became a whole thing, and it was very shitty. So these people are uncool in my estimation.
Okay. Yeah. And all these things alleged.
Sure, but also
looking at their-
you can use your eyeballs.
I'm looking at their stuff right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally Googled paranormal couple.
Yeah,
Right, like that-
Their stuff
that was
doesn't
pretty
look
much
like
the
that
logo, right?
anymore, but it did at one point.
Interesting.
And like seriously, the tiers and everything. So for example, like the Newkirks have I'm saying this off the top of my head, I could be totally wrong, but it'll be like museum member, museum curator, museum board member or something for like the tiers, and it'll give you various levels of access and also like input into things that they would do with their
what was it called? What was
museum
their thing called?
What, the Newkirks?
Yeah, the Newkirks, the museum, because it was called museum, right?
Yeah. It's the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal
That's
and
right.
Occult.
Okay, thank you.
Now their Patreon is, I think it's Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal.
Okay, all right.
But they have that same kind of structure for their own thing.
Yeah.
Dana Newkirk has a tier of the Patreon that's called Magic of the Month, where she sends out a box with like really cool like spiritual tools and like a really well thought out sort of like I guess you'd say like guide for the month and does monthly classes through video. Satori Hawes does the same exact thing and just calls it something different. It
That's
is gross.
Yeah.
So anyway, these are the people who are involved in what I'm about to tell you.
Fair enough.
And so that colors basically what I'm about to tell you, in my opinion. So these two, the paranormal couple, were linked up with Jacqueline Nunez, who owns the Conjuring house, and were working on a barn that was on the property of the Conjuring house, like right next to it, converting it into a museum. So they said that they were working on renovating it and putting furniture in it and paranormal artifacts and whatever in it. And then it burned down. It all burned to the ground.
Oh.
And so they are saying that Nunez owes them money because they worked on renovating it and doing all this stuff to it, and that she told them that she would pay them back through the insurance money that she gets from it. And she is saying that that is not the case. So I have a quote from her about it. And first of all, she says that she spent $450,000 on renovating the barn and that she didn't receive enough insurance money to cover it. So I guess that's part of why she's saying she can't pay them back, because she didn't get enough money for whatever. And then here's a quote from her. They did not contribute one dime towards any of that renovation. In a couple of exchanges, I did indicate that I would reimburse them. However, I also told them a few times in person and in texts that it was dependent on the amount of insurance money that I would receive. And it was later determined that the fire was caused by improperly disposed material spontaneously combusting inside a trash bag left in the barn.
Exploding garbage?
Exploding garbage. Nunez blamed the couple for the fire, noting that they hired somebody who had no experience and did not read the care instructions for the oil-based wood stain that he used. Quote, the reason the barn burned is because they, not me, hired a painting hobbyist who failed to read the instructions for how to dispose of soiled and highly combustible rags properly.
Who soiled the rags?
Who disposed of soiled rags improperly. Their failure to acknowledge their role in the destruction of the barn and all items will not bode well for their future museum aspirations.
Oh.
Right.
Wow. So
I would say other things don't bode well for their future museum aspirations. By the way, a link to the Newkirk's Museum Patreon will be in our show notes.
She's not even just saying like, you burned down my shed.
She's saying you suck.
You saying you suck ass and you can never run a museum. You will not have learned any lessons from this.
Yes.
You're going to burn down every museum you ever try to open.
That is what she seems to be saying.
She's extending beyond the scope of this problem to say, P.S. you blow.
Yeah.
Which, like, well, then why were you working with them?
I don't know. Perhaps she, again, I'm not saying this. I'm saying I would think that she might say, well, I have now learned that they blow.
You'd think
I
that,
didn't know
well,
that
true.
they blew.
Good point. You'd think that the children of the Roto-Rooter man might have some capacity to understand, or at least some resources at their disposal about building stuff, right?
One would think, but also someone who has the entitlement to steal somebody's complete business model and branding.
Well, that's your allegation.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Might not be doing their due diligence on these sorts of things.
Possibly.
So just to end, Nunez added that she should be suing them for their recklessness and negligence, and will now be looking into her options to pursue legal action. And Hawks and Desbeans deny. By the way, I looked up how to pronounce this last name, and I lost my notes, and I don't have it.
Fair enough.
Denied ever hiring the painter. So we're at a standstill.
Okay, well, interesting. So yeah, this is a lot of, boy, the curse of the Conjuring house, huh?
Seriously.
Bathsheba strikes again. Oh my God, I can't wait for the sequel.
I know.
James Wan.
Wild stuff.
We've got a pitch for you. It's all about interpersonal conflicts of people who own a haunted house. I will say,
crazy.
Actually, I was joking about that being potential for a story, but I am fascinated by the commerce of I own a haunted place.
Yes.
I have enough money to put $450,000 into turning a shed into a museum.
Right.
This is some disposable income stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, unless it's like a huge loan. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know anything. I don't know
either.
anything. Neither of us do. Everything is alleged. Everything is alleged.
Yes.
But this is a story. This is...
Oh, yeah.
And I will be interested to see how these things play out, because this is madness.
I will be following this.
Total madness.
I was hooked. Again, thank you very much, Jesse. Thank you for messaging us on Patreon to tell us. Woo!
This is delightful. Wow, I don't get it, man.
Me
Now,
neither.
it's in Connecticut.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. Damn it. I was going to say we could go. I mean, we still could go.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop us from going. It is a schlep.
Yeah.
I want to go, by the way, now that I have access to Blackwood again.
Yeah.
I want to go on a road trip to Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Which are two of the places that Blackwood is based on, to farm for some like inspiration, to see if we might be able to get the machine running again. And
Absolutely.
I want to see if you'd be interested to come.
Of course I would be.
I don't know how much further Rhode Island is, but
it's like 4 or 5 hours.
Beyond that?
Oh, no, I don't know. I have no idea.
It'd be interesting.
I don't know.
It's not going to be for a bit, obviously. We got Baby Brother on the horizon. But,
Yep.
Yeah.
Blackwood is the audio drama that Will wrote. It's a horror audio drama that you would probably enjoy, so look it up in your podcast apps.
And I think I just had like, this is going to sound so pretentious. This is going to sound like what you hate when like Stephen King has said, where he's like, I wondered what Dan Torrance was up to.
Yeah.
But this is sort of how it happened. So I have some insight now into like, oh my God, it happened to me.
Yeah.
I sort of had like a vision of the opening moments of a potential season 2 of Blackwood.
Fabulous.
I like know how it begins.
Excellent.
And it's been very exciting. Been thinking a lot about Blackwood lately.
Awesome.
But I'm sorry, it feels now like a total non sequitur pivot, but I was thinking like we could go to the Conjuring house. Like there's nothing to stop us.
No.
Let me also throw this your way, because this is tricky and the sort of trouble that you often get yourself into when you're doing a show and you're giving your opinion about things that people get very hot and bothered about.
Yeah.
It's not impossible that we post this episode and these folks find out that we did this show and they hear you saying
I already thought about it. I stand behind it.
You have really transformed into a very interesting person to me, because you stand by your convictions. You've always had a strong personality where you're like, this is what I believe, God damn it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that, Mom. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating to watch that really take shape in like, I'm talking some shit and I'm going to deal with the fallout.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, is what I'm trying to say. Your obstinance, I'm very proud of it.
Thank you.
I'll fight to the death to stand by your side. These people suck. I don't know shit about them. They suck ass. I don't know.
Right. No, look, it's just true. That is very clear, black and white in front of me.
Fair enough.
What they did. So, yeah.
It's interesting. So are you comfortable if I post this and I like tag them?
I mean, I'd rather you not do that. Like, why go that? Why go
throw it in their face?
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessary.
That might be pouring some gasoline on the fire. That's just unnecessary.
That's a soiled rag that is not necessary to ignite.
They're covered in soiled rags. I can't.
Right.
I can't even ignite like a little flame of controversy.
No. It certainly did occur to me when I was talking about this. I'm not dying to, have a face off, but. Yes, I believe they did that. That is true to me.
I love it, Kristen. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, can I
also know that I'm talking to I can't
What?
I don't know. I'm talking to like our audience. It's like true.
I know, I agree with you. I think that that's the funny thing though about doing a show.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're talking to our guide to the unknown folks, but the aspiration for
I want to tell them like what is going on.
Hey, listen.
No, I know.
I'm on record that on Guide to the Unknown, we speak our truth as well as we know it, and we stand by the things that we say. But it is funny that, like, it's just, and it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do a show and you think you're talking to your audience, then you find out, or you're reminded, anyone can listen. It's not as if this is gate kept.
Yep.
So it'll just be. I don't think anything is going to come of this. By the way, it sounds like they got a lot of their stuff on their plate than some some dynamite
2-bit hack talking about ghost farts.
No, some badass
good
time scary show.
Right. I do wish I remembered how to pronounce the guy's last name, because it would be respectful, but I don't.
It's of the beans.
Yeah, I know.
It's, translate to English.
Yeah.
Of beans.
Yeah.
Let's stay in controversy. Let's stay in smack talk.
Okay.
All right? Uh-huh. I want to talk to you about Tenacious D.
Oh, yeah.
Because there has been...
Coming to Yeehaw.
Yeah. Just like the Conjuring house, like there was a little bit of like unfinished business there. It's something that we've talked about before, and there was a recent thing with it. Tenacious D, we did an episode about, I don't even know how long ago. We talked about sort of like the badass dark metal lore of Tenacious D, but there was one thing that I had researched that I was like, you know what? This is such like an in a vacuum kind of story.
Yeah.
I ignored it in the episode, but I have literally been waiting to tell you about this ever since because I think it's so delightful.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we're doing this as Tenacious D is sadly back in the news.
I know.
Sadly.
Their fate hangs in the balance.
It's true. So let's talk first about Time Fixers.
Yeah.
Maybe talk a little bit, talk a little smack about recent events if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So Tenacious D, what?
Although I just looked at the times. Talk about events. Patreon.com/GTTUpod.
My favorite event.
Party.
One of the
weekly
best,
event.
One of the greatest activations.
I actually think it's a great activation and a great event.
I agree with those things.
This is the home of our second weekly podcast. This is actually only half of our deal. We have a Monday show called the Netherworld Dispatch that comes out every week. And if you join us on the Demon tier at Patreon, then you get all of those episodes. We have a number of different tiers that you can check out where you get those episodes at different increments depending on what you would like to donate to the Patreon. And it all completely rules. We also have a Discord connected to the Patreon. We have movie commentaries. We have a newsletter that you can actually get for free when you join as a free member. It's all awesome.
Oh, it's a party.
Yeah.
It expands the world of Guide to the Unknown. It supports us greatly.
Yes.
We tremendously depend on it and appreciate it.
Yep.
As of recording right now, the most recent episode of the Netherworld Dispatch, for those interested, is 174, titled The Ghost Inside My Seatbelt Psychic.
Oh boy, this was something else. So we headed over to the Lifetime Movie Network YouTube channel, which has tons of free episodes as well as just clips of absolute paranormal dreck. And we checked out some of it.
Oh, it was miserable.
Yeah.
In the best way. Seatbelt Psychic, within 1 minute,
This was shocking.
he's literally driving like an Uber, and someone gets in, and he starts clutching his face like, I'm having a vision. And you're like, all right, I can't wait for
It's
this.
also unsafe. He takes both of his hands off the wheel and does like Kevin from Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly. 10 and 2, pal.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm going to need you to get out of the car. I sense like 200 ghosts with you.
And the girl's like, okay.
He bails on his first person in the car.
Yeah.
He just completely kicks her out.
It's so
Seatbelt
nuts.
Psychic. Enjoy. Go check that out. And then we watch The Ghost Inside My Child. Woof. Woof.
So this is a show that is about parents who believe that their child is reincarnated and how they have come to discover this and whatever. So it's interviews with the parents and the child. The child in this episode thinks / the parents think that he is the reincarnated spirit of the director of Gone with the Wind. They take him to a Gone with the Wind museum in Hollywood. It is so excessive. It's a lot.
It isn't right.
Makes for a hell of an episode.
Oh, sure does. They take him to meet the surviving daughters of the director. And
It's so weird.
Whatever.
Yep.
So they're like, this is your father. It's a 6-year-old boy.
Daddy.
Go check that out. Patreon.com/GTTUpod. Thank you so much to everybody who already backs us. Oh my God, is it so much fun to do. I love it.
Yep. It's great. Also, I forget to say this a lot. When you join us at the $4 tier or more, you get access to episodes of Guide to the Unknown ad-free. You get a whole ad-free feed. So you would never hear this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also, we would love it if you would consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, just like Melinda did, titled, Is It Friday Yet? Guide to the Unknown is my favorite podcast. I've been listening for about 4 years now and recently joined their Patreon, speak of the devil, as I needed more Kristen and William in my life. I love listening to these siblings talk about some of my favorite topics, hauntings, cryptids, and horror movies. Definitely give them a listen. 5 stars.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Melinda. That's a really nice review. Thank you to everybody who leaves us reviews. It's so sweet of you. It makes a difference to other people checking out shows. It makes a huge difference to us. Thank you to everybody who listens, tells friends about it. You all really rule, and we really appreciate you. And if you haven't done that before, we would really love it if you did. If you left a review, if you were listening to an episode and you're like, this is really funny, I'm going to text it to my friend. That all means a lot. So
it does. Means a ton. And if you leave us a review, we might read it in a future episode.
Yeah.
Plop some stars on Spotify, or as Chrissy said, just spread the word.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to everybody who does.
That's right.
All
right.
So I need, you know what I need?
Yum, yum, yum. Eat 'em up. Commercials.
Ooh, yummy. Boom. Done.
Satisfied?
Oh, very.
Okay.
So, Tenacious D did a short thing called Time Fixers. They used to do a lot of like sketches and stuff. I'm actually not even sure. This was not part of their HBO show, I don't believe. I think they just kind of made it for fun. Tenacious D, a lot of their like repeating sketch format is that they're going to go play at an open mic.
Yeah.
And then something goes kaflooey and whatever. So they're going to go play at the open mic, but they get a video message in their car. This is as if they are James Bond and they're getting a video message from, you know, whoever runs MI6 or whatever that's called. I think it's Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't care.
I don't know.
So it's Michael Keaton playing Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
He's like, Jack, Cage, it's Michael Keaton. He gives them a mission that they have to go back in time to Ford's Theater because something is amiss with the time-space continuum. Oh, and also in the credits they say, introducing Michael Keaton as the professor. But I believe he says, I'm Michael Keaton. They're driving a Cutlass Supreme that can barely pull out of its parking spot, but even still, they end up shooting back in time as if they got to 88 miles per hour in the DeLorean, which is very funny. They're at Ford's Theater, which is where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated.
Yep.
Which weirdly, wow, talk about parallels to recent events.
What?
The recent Tenacious D news. How could Time Fixers couldn't be more relevant?
Yeah, you're right.
So they're at Ford's Theater, and outside Ford's Theater, there's a marquee showing upcoming showings, including Pilgrim 2, Buckle My Shoe. Awesome. Incredible. Abraham Lincoln isn't staying in the theater. He's leaving the theater because the play he's watching sucks ass. Jack Black and Kyle Gass have to fix time. Yeah. So their job is to convince Abraham Lincoln to stay in the theater to get shot in the head. Otherwise, history is going to be destroyed. I swear to God, I've been sitting on this for months. Yeah. I did not expect that it would become, not when we did unused material, it would be so relevant.
Right.
So they try to pay him to stay with a handful of coins, assuming that they're probably worth a lot of money.
Yeah, right. Be like $1 million
in his time.
Right.
But he's not interested. But who's behind this? All these shenanigans. There is a villain that's causing this ripple in the time-space continuum. It's the Time Goblin. And it's just some guy wearing like green witch makeup, basically. But Jack Black goes, it's the Time Goblin. He gobbles time. He gobbles time.
Of course.
They fight, they lose, they end up tied in the chair where Abraham Lincoln is supposed to sit. Any minute now, John Wilkes Booth is going to inevitably kill them instead of Abraham Lincoln. They get free just before John Wilkes Booth can kill them. Abraham Lincoln shows up to do the right thing. You see, Kristen, those coins that they paid him with, he saw his face on the penny. He says it's the nicest thing anyone has ever done for him. So he agrees to sit in the seat. Jack and Kyle Gass walk out of the theater and listen. Hear the gunshot and celebrate like it worked. They fixed time. But the Time Goblin took their time machine.
Oh, no.
Oh, what are they going to do? They're trapped in time. Oh, thankfully, here's H.G. Wells with a time-traveling bicycle. They're now going to ride H.G. Wells' time-traveling bicycle to follow the Time Goblin back to dinosaur times and defeat him before he can swat a butterfly.
Was this like on YouTube or something, maybe?
I guess. I don't even remember now. And they managed to get back before their open mic set is supposed to begin as heroes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's Tenacious D Time Fixers, which I didn't talk about in our episode about Tenacious D.
Right.
But again, whoever could have anticipated?
I mean, it was meant to be that you didn't talk about it then.
How is this possible?
Right.
As we're recording right now, everybody, it's been about, what, a month?
Yeah.
Since somebody attempted to assassinate Donald Trump.
Right.
At a rally.
Yeah.
And not only that, he survived. Mm-hmm. But right on the heels of that, there was all of this. It's so funny how fast time works now. Like everyone was like, oh my God, well, he's going to win.
Yeah.
But also, like, oh my God, like, no one should be making fun of the fact that he was almost murdered.
Right.
You know? And then, at a Tenacious D concert in Australia, it was Kyle Gass's birthday. That very weekend. Jack Black presents Kyle Gass with a birthday cake and says, "Make a wish." And Rage Cage leans in for the cake and crosses his fingers and goes, "Oh, please don't miss next time."
Yeah.
And blows out the candles.
Right.
Everyone, Jack goes, "Thank you," takes the cake away. Everyone laughs.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But then, huge controversy. Jack Black, the next day, issues a statement saying that he was shocked and taken aback. He says he was blindsided.
He was blindsided, which is very particular language that Kyle Gass said that the president should have been, the former president, should have been shot, or the shooter shouldn't have missed, don't miss next time, whatever.
Right. And
he condemns Kyle Gass's words, cancels all their tour dates for the rest of the year or whatever, and basically Tenacious D breaks up.
Yeah. Or just was hanging in the balance. It was kind of unclear.
Yeah.
And it definitely seemed like he kind of threw him under the bus. It was like, I didn't know that was going to happen. So
exactly.
I am now canceling this. It wasn't even a joint statement.
Right.
Saying like, in light of the comments that upset everybody, we have decided to cancel everything. It was Jack Black saying, I was blindsided, so now we're canceling all the tour dates.
Enter a lot of anti-Jack Black sentiment, which is pretty interesting to see. It's one of the first times. I mean, after School of Rock, everyone got kind of sick of him.
Yeah, right.
But then around Jumanji,
Jack Black fatigue.
There was fatigue, and then there was the resurgence. But now it's like, oh no, now there's also now like anti.
Was that kind of shitty?
Did he toss his buddy under the bus?
Yeah, and he's like the more famous one, so it stings even more to toss him under the bus.
He has just recently said that inevitably Tenacious D will be back together.
Right.
And I believe Kyle Gass himself posted an apology, but also deleted it. And so it's like no one really knows. Even as of recording, no one really knows what's going on. It's like touch and go.
And even what he said, so he said, of course they'll be back together. And he said something like, I guess somebody said like, are you still friends? He was like, yeah, no, of course we'll still be friends. It was like a little weird. It still felt a little bit like it was just kind of, I could read it as him sort of trying to just smooth over. It wasn't really like, no, of course, we are totally fine, whatever. It was a little vague.
Well, Kyle Gass isn't the guest on a million podcasts. And stuff,
I know.
So I wonder what he thinks.
I know.
My feeling at the time was like, well, what I think or hope might have happened is that they immediately had some sort of a powwow of what do we do now. This is what I hope.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, Jack Black, Tenacious D is big, but Jack Black is bigger.
Right.
We don't want to tank the whole ship. Kyle Gass is on the ship. If Jack Black goes down, so goes Kyle Gass.
Right.
But if Jack Black gets out in front and says this was bad, the ship stays afloat.
Yeah.
And give it enough time, and everyone on the ship, including Kyle Gass, is okay. Tenacious D gets back to normal. But it is increasingly feeling like...
So I was very hopeful.
That's what I thought
about
at
that.
First, yeah.
His comments on the red carpet were wishy-washy enough to me that it makes me think that is not the case.
Some non-committal.
Yeah, it was like, of course we're friends.
I have to protect myself.
Yeah.
And I gotta
like,
protect myself, yeah.
I don't really think so anymore.
On long enough timeline, nothing really goes away forever. I can imagine, things being buttoned up eventually, but
I do too.
It's been fascinating to see Tenacious D, of all things, you think would be like pretty untouchable and comedic.
I thought this was a stabilizing force in my life.
It's like a South Park level joke. I mean, listen, it was a sensitive time. I was terrified. Sure. A lot of us were.
I know. I was freaked.
It was not a time.
I thought that because I was worried there was going to be a big backlash.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was not. It certainly did not feel like the time to be making jokes. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but I would not have thought that Tenacious D, who in their most recent album, Apocalypto, was like all about Trump and making fun of Trump and Donald Trump Jr. I don't even remember what now.
I don't know.
But man, looking back at my Time Fixers notes.
I know.
They had to ensure that Abraham Lincoln got shot to fix time.
Look, Kyle was doing his damnedest.
Kyle. Oh, buddy.
Rage Cage.
Oh, nothing and no one can hurt the old Rage Cage again.
No.
Except for Jack.
That's right. Oh,
for Hollywood Jack.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, fingers crossed.
God.
Fingers
and that
crossed.
also hurts because he's talked about how he's had tough feelings around Jack being the more famous one.
Yes.
So to be thrown under like this.
Well, Can I play devil's advocate?
Yes.
And I don't want any responsibility for what I'm about to say. The fact of the matter is, unfortunately, that Jack is the ship that keeps everything afloat.
I know.
So why are you saying things that Jack, Hollywood Jack, is going to have to inevitably try to do some damage control on?
Yeah.
Why are you making things rocky? Everything was fine. Why would you rock the boat?
Yeah.
You could make that argument.
Yeah.
But then you could make the counter argument. We always rock the boat.
Of course.
It's metal. We're Tenacious D. We joke around. And it was a joke.
I know.
It was a goddamn joke.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is an argument could be made. Hey, man, you picked a bad time to make a pretty lame, easy joke.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
The fallout shouldn't be what it is. But why would you?
I know.
Why would you put the spotlight on us this way?
I know. Totally.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm team. It was a joke.
I totally
And
hear
P.S.
that.
The entire world seems to have moved on.
Oh, completely.
In the craziest way. And that's the other thing. Jack Black could not have foreseen that within 2 weeks, no one would care.
No, I know.
Tenacious D has almost turned out to be like the biggest fallout of the event.
Yeah.
You don't hear
that could
anyone
be
talk
true.
about this. It's been a month.
The most people talk about it is how everybody was wearing like Band-Aids on the ears at the RNC. And it was like, okay, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the most.
That's so bonkers.
I know.
But so, man, did not expect my Tenacious D notes to really tie into events the way that they have.
Truly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about a ghost from Pawleys Island in South Carolina. This is the Gray Man.
Oh.
And no, I'm not talking about that movie on Netflix with Chris, what's this man's name? Evans and Ryan Gosling.
Oh, I was thinking about that Liam Neeson movie where he rides a wolf. But I think that's just called The Greys or something like that.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. There's so many movies that are like,
I know.
not riding a wolf, but just kind of like that. Like
Or the other gray man, Steve Martin.
You're absolutely right.
I guess more of a shock
white man.
of white man.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually a good guy ghost. You gotta love it. If you see him on the beach, it's a warning that a hurricane is about to blow through. So you got to get out of there.
What? Okay.
Yeah, he's like a human ghost alarm.
Is he standing there like Tony Stark, like arms out, and then you see the storm billow up behind him? How much more interesting would the news be? Like if they're like, let's throw to our weatherman, wacky Jim with the weather. Well, the gray man's been seen on the beach again. Everyone.
And it's just a ghost.
Yeah.
Like on the side. He's like, see? So everybody clear out.
Yeah.
And that's it. It also makes for a nice succinct news story.
Yes, absolutely. The gray man's been spotted.
So get the hell out of here.
Get inside now.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, he shows up wearing all gray. Sometimes he just appears and sometimes he speaks. It's a mixed bag. He got national attention for the first time after Hurricane Hugo in the late 80s, when residents Jim and Clara Moore were interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, cool.
Which aired in 1990. They told their story about how they saw the gray man on the beach and they waved to him because I guess they're just being neighborly. They saw a guy on the beach and they were like, oh, hey, maybe it's a small community. I don't know. And he disappeared after they waved. And they were like, well, that was weird. I don't know what's going on.
He doesn't like awkward encounters.
Right. He was just like, I don't know.
I'm out. Dematerialize.
I don't know them.
Yeah.
Then their house was spared in the storm, even though the houses of all of their neighbors were damaged heavily. So what does this mean exactly? Like, were they spared because they saw the gray? Like, I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of this. Was it that they were nice to the gray man and so he spared them? Does he have any sort of hand in this sort of thing?
Yeah, initially I took it as like, just like how they say like dogs can sense, an earthquake right before it happens. It's like if the gray man appears, there's probably going to be a hurricane.
Yeah.
Is he in charge of the hurricane?
I know, this kind of makes it sound like, there's some sort of cause and effect here. Like they saw him.
He's the hurricane's boss?
Yeah, I guess so. The manager?
The hurricane's daddy?
It's a great question. There was also a series on the Weather Channel called American Super / Natural, which I would like to see. So apparently the Weather Channel has gotten into the paranormal show game. This was in 2014, and they had an episode about the Gray Man there. I couldn't find it. I wanted to watch that. I did watch the clip about the Gray Man and Hurricane Hugo on Unsolved Mysteries, which was fun, but I couldn't find American Supernatural. And I pretty much just included that it's a thing because I want everybody to know that the Weather Channel has a ghost show.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
I know.
We know about realtors who have ghost pages, jewelers who have ghost pages.
Yeah, true. Some of our favorite sources, like car insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Websites that
whatever.
Inexplicably will, be telling the story of James Dean's haunted car.
Totally.
I guess maybe among the weatherman community.
Yeah.
The paranormal is big.
Honestly, maybe, because think about how
many weather people can there be? There must be a fairly tight-knit community.
I don't know. There's probably a lot. Like if there was like a weatherman for every news channel, and if there are news channels for like every, I don't know, if not county area, there's a lot of counties and stuff.
Is there Middlesex County News? Could we be
I was
watching
just thinking
local
that.
news?
I don't think it's quite that local, but
I think it's like regions. So it's
I do
like
too.
That's why I'm like, I don't think there's that many. I think there's like a weatherman, maybe like, let's say one for every state.
Yeah.
There's only 50 of them.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think it's a little more, but I don't know. But think about it. Like
a legend passed down from weatherman to weatherman.
I bet there are like generations of weathermen.
Yeah, I bet
My
there are.
father was a weatherman, whatever. But no, think about it. Like there are a lot of like supernatural things that are supposed to be a harbinger. You know what I mean? Like the Mothman's supposed to be a harbinger of doom. There are multiple ghosts that are supposed to be like this, where it's said that like they're seen and then a hurricane blows through. I know I've heard this kind of thing before.
Yeah,
So I bet there is like a little bit of paranormal chatter among weathermen.
I bet there is.
Which is fun. So who the heck is this guy? So some people say that the Gray Man is the spirit of a young man who was bucked from his horse and then drowned on Litchfield Beach on his way to visit his fiancée back in the early 1800s. Some other people say that it's the same kind of story, but he got trapped in quicksand as he and that horse went through the marsh trying to make their way to his fiancée. The legend goes that after his death, the Gray Man saved the woman that he loved and her family by warning them of a coming storm. And so that went well. He saved them. So then he just kept saving everybody else as well.
I'll just keep it up. I'm good at spotting a storm.
Yeah, may as well. And still others say that the man in question was actually Edward Teach. That is Blackbeard. You knew that?
Yeah, I know who Edward Teach is.
Is it because you just watched Pirates of the Caribbean? Did they mention?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Pirates of the Caribbean 4, which I watched last night, is not all about. It's about too many things. But Edward Teach, Blackbeard, is Ian McShane's character. He's the bad guy. And so
he might be the Gray Man.
He might be the Gray Man. That's pretty wild.
So actually a good guy.
A good pirate.
Huh.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Pretty neat.
Maybe they can use their doubloons for good.
But I don't think that's right, because I looked up on IMDb and it said that Blackbeard was decapitated and his head was hung from his own pirate ship.
Yeah, that seems to be a little hitch in the story.
We could cover Blackbeard someday.
Totally.
We should cover pirate legends. The MacGuffins of Pirates of the Caribbean. We did the MacGuffins of Indiana Jones. A MacGuffin is just a cursed relic.
I'd be into that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, let's do that.
Okay.
When I went to Charleston, I did a ghost tour where they talked about Blackbeard because he stayed in a prison there. And then they say the prison is haunted, partially by the spirit of Blackbeard.
Cool.
And the prison that I went to had kind of like, I don't think it was animatronic. Maybe they were at one point, but they had like little displays where they were like weird statues of pirates, like but behind the bars being like, "Rawr," or whatever. And it was awesome.
Yarr.
Yarr. This beach that he was seen on, or the island, excuse me, it's Pawleys Island that he is said to haunt, has a 90% haunted rating on hauntedplaces.org.
All right.
Which is pretty high, but no comments.
I know, that stinks.
Unfortunately. I know, it happens a lot. But so it seems like people feel like it's pretty spooky there.
Pretty spooky.
Even if they don't have a lot to say about it. Yeah. they'll cruise by and give it a little thumbs up.
I have no opinions.
However, I will say it seems haunted.
No, I like that. I like that quite a bit. I like the idea of a ghost that, like, you could equate, there's an interpretation of ghosts that they are almost like a natural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So why couldn't it be that according to certain times of day or certain weather conditions, they're visible?
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, about them being a natural phenomenon.
Yeah,
And also, if they're kind of like all-seeing or sort of all-knowing in some way, I guess they would know that something like that is coming.
Well, I'm positing essentially like, what if there was a variation of ghost, almost like a subspecies of ghost, where it's like it doesn't have a will or a want of its own. It's just when the conditions are just right, it's visible.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost like seeing a rainbow, right?
I was about to say, yeah.
Like there are
like they're
weather
affected
phenomena, you know?
Yeah.
Like why not?
Yeah, like the mist makes it so that they're visible or
they're
something.
visible.
It like clings on to them.
Yes, when the whatever a hurricane is, like a high pressure system, low pressure system collide, or I don't remember things.
Yeah.
But it's like, when those pressure systems are in the right configuration, the gray man is visible. And so it's an indication that most people would shrug off and call nonsense. But if you're in the know, get inside.
And maybe he's gray, not necessarily because of what he's wearing or whatever, but if we're going with this kind of like theory that it has to do with, you know, weather systems affecting him, like gray clouds and stuff like that is making it possible for him to become opaque.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit.
Very fun.
We talked about, now this is dopey, admittedly. I don't know if this has any foot in real life, you know, paranormal belief or folklore or anything.
Yeah.
But a long time ago, we did an episode about Grand Theft Auto 5's paranormal stuff. We like literally played the game on the show, which was fun.
Yeah.
And I talked about this ghost of a woman that's only visible at a certain time of day. And that is always stuck in my head as just like a fun thing. Like you got to be at the right place at the right time to see it. Otherwise...
Right, you're out of luck.
You're out of luck.
Yeah.
It sounds like the gray man might be
That's
kind of
cool.
similar. Yeah.
Was it every day that you could see her, or were they Yeah.
Yep.
That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Super neat.
Great.
All right. Hey, I'm going to talk about what's that?
No, I mean.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I trust you.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't.
I don't know about that. But we're good. I mean, look, this just means yet more unused material.
That is true.
For another day.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I know. Look at you. I'm sorry, but look, I mean, come on.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right,
No,
of all
I'm
things?
saying go ahead.
All right.
Yes.
All right. All right, everybody. We're going to conclude. We're going to conclude with a micro bit.
Yeah.
A delicious little morsel. Actually, a junior mint-sized story.
That's true.
I have in my notes, back in episode 272 of this show, we covered all the scary stuff from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And here's one of the things that didn't make the cut, because it's really, I mean, what does it matter?
It's a junior mint.
It's a junior mint. It's very refreshing. In the episode The Junior Mint, which a lot of people might be familiar with, pretty iconic story where Elaine dated a guy who is going to be going in for some sort of surgery.
Yeah.
And Kramer and Jerry Seinfeld want to sit in the audience?
Yeah.
The galley. I don't know.
Whatever you call it.
And so they're going to watch them as they cut this fat bastard up, as Jerry says. And so they're watching the surgery when Kramer starts to offer Jerry a junior mint. He's got a box of these little chocolate-covered mint candies. And
Like he's at the theater.
Jerry does not want one. And so in trying to nudge the box away from him, one junior mint goes flying up into the air, and they watch it in slow motion as the junior mint goes up, 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 and then down toward the patient and goes into his incision wound.
Yep.
And he's sealed shut with a junior mint inside his body, and his health starts to decline, but no one knows why. But Jerry and Kramer know.
Yeah.
But they feel guilty or something. They're like, it's probably fine, right?
Yeah, right. They don't want to get in trouble.
They don't want to get in trouble. It was a splenectomy. He was having his spleen removed. That's what it was. Well, the reason I'm telling you about this, aside from, I mean, listen, that's weird in and of itself.
It's an oddity.
As a sitcom plot that somebody dropped a junior mint in somebody's surgical
open
wound.
cavity.
Yeah. This is season 4, episode 20, by the way, 420. Poof,
Right on.
poof, poof, past, right? Well, Sherman Howard is the name of the actor who plays this patient.
Yeah.
Roy, who ends up with the junior mint in his body. And that is the same guy who plays Bub the Zombie in Day of the Dead, George Romero's trilogy capper, Day of the Dead. And when you have that knowledge in mind, it's just really more like a casting thing. But
it's fun.
I will say, as dopey as it is, when you have that in mind, if you're watching Seinfeld, you're like, yeah, that is Bub.
Yeah.
Like, he still looks like Bub the Zombie.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of fun, too, that albeit strained, perhaps, it is kind of amusing to me that like a very famous zombie performer has a bodily injury kind of story.
Yes.
Even
he's
on
been
Seinfeld.
Opened up.
Yeah, he's been cut open.
Yeah. And then he's rotting basically from the inside.
Because of a junior
There's a
mint.
foreign object in his body that's like
absolutely
destroying him.
So there you go. That's stupid. Just a little stupid nugget of joy.
Snack.
A little snack just to cap off our undead topics.
That's
Why not?
right.
Why not?
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. As we said before, go to patreon.com/GTTUpod if you would like to access double the Guide to the Unknown, because we actually have 2 weekly shows. And if you would like to help support the show, which means a ton to William and I, materially makes a huge difference in our lives. And thank you so much.
Yes, this show has really developed to become part of our like livelihood. Very genuinely and directly.
Quite chunkily. Yes.
Yes. And we greatly appreciate it. And it helps that the show, we've talked about like aspirations for Guide to the Unknown or for our company, Scary Fun, that I would love to be able to chase down.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to like time and availability.
Yeah.
And Patreon is the thing that helps make these things get closer and closer to within reach.
Yeah.
A lot of them are still pretty far off, but maybe with enough support, we can really dial this thing up to like beyond 13.
Totally.
But thank you again to everybody who already supports us.
Yes.
Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, this is not very evergreen to say, but as of right now, Patreon had a fun little feature that let us take an episode and make it available even on the free tier. So if you want to get a sample of some additional Netherworld Dispatch stuff, our review of Longlegs is now available to anybody who would like to go listen to it.
Yeah.
So feel free to check it out, and we hope that you enjoy it. And until next time, everybody, follow at GTTUpod on all social media. That's where we post when we have new episodes and stuff. And you can also follow us individually.
Yep, I am at Chillin' Kristen.
I am at The Myth Traveler. So we'll be back next week to talk about something completely different. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the Netherworld go we.
Perhaps onto the high seas?
I think so.
Would you like to become pirates next week?
I would like to.
Then pirates we shall be.